continue on the topic of growth and talk to a fast-growing company. But to succeed in business today, as we just heard, there's a lot of other pieces you have to think about, and it's not just enough to be crushing it in retailer. Investors, consumers, retailers, they all want to find brands that are succeeding in multiple channels, be it on their own e-commerce platform, other online marketplaces, or in subscription boxes and meal kits. Making that shift is complicated enough for a shelf-stable product, but picture doing it for a product that has all these moving pieces and is incredibly complex. Today, we've got the founder of a company that's taken this journey, and here to share his company's growth from online to store is Kyle Ransford, the CEO of Chef'd, a meal kit marketplace that has partnered with hundreds of brands to create easy-to-cook creative meal solutions for consumers around the country. Kyle?
Thank you. Thank you all for having me here. I'm going to try to take the time here to talk a little bit about meal solutions and where meal solutions are headed, what that could mean for some of your businesses. But to the entrepreneurs in the room, a little bit about the journey for us and things we did along the way that are things that are core to us today and things that we learned. I've been doing this for the last couple of years. It's always interesting to me to see, so play along with me if you don't mind. How many of you in the audience have ever cooked a meal kit? How many of you in the audience have heard of Chef'd before today? All right, so the numbers keep getting better, and the category keeps getting better. One of the important things that we always talk about at Chef'd is the word meal kit came to mean something, generally speaking, to the consumer that isn't in fact what the end product is, right? So the word meal kit, because of the pioneers in the space that did an amazing job, my hats are off to the Blue Aprons, the Plateds, the HelloFreshes, et cetera, that really popularized the concept of meal kit. But it sort of came to mean somebody's going to send you 3 things in a box, and if you don't click no this week, it's showing up at your door, and right, it became to mean subscription meal kit, subscription commerce, lack of choice, lack of ability to reorder. So as we looked at the space, the initial idea came to me from looking at a magazine, at Bon Appetit, looking at a recipe and saying, hey, how come there isn't a button to send that to me? So our journey really started in meal fulfillment. And at the very beginning, our concept was to empower the brands that are already talking to consumers and already have a lifestyle around that brand, around that food, and that we would simply help them get in the pre-portioned items that directly to the consumer. And as we see the word meal kit, meal solution evolve, I think that the new consumers, especially ones that are becoming accustomed to it in retail, have a different approach to what that means. That the word to them is beginning to mean more, somebody's pre-thought out what to make for dinner, made it super simple, and I'm buying just exactly what I want. And this seems like a pretty good value versus going to the store and sort of the inventory model. And so I always talk about like the consumer behavior in the space and how things have gone. And if you go back, kind of rewind to 1950s, generally we're talking about mom managed the kitchen. The spend in the household was 20 to 25% of the household income. So this was a really important job for the household. And we all run businesses here, so if you think of that job as a business and what happened and start putting business words to it, we'll talk in terms of mom kept inventory in her head, 200, 300 SKUs, perishable, changing in what's been used and what hasn't. I remembered all that. I've got these customers, my family, I like the stuff that I make for them 95% of the time, but sometimes they want something new, a little challenging. I've got a manufacturing schedule. I've got to know how to make these meals and plan it out for the week. And so generally speaking, mom managed that business, planned it out. She had things like lists. She went to the grocery store on a procurement mission to refill the inventory that she has in her head, and then looked at the sizes and looked at the prices and the discounts and tried to figure out, okay, what am I going to buy and how is this going to work? And generally, most of the CPG brands responded by, we'll just sell you more for the same price to pick us. And now my inventory problem got even bigger. Mom quit. Mom doesn't want this job anymore. or whoever it is in your household that makes food, right? In modern, with technology and the communication and the rapid stuff that's going on, it's really hard to think in those regards, right? And I don't know that consumer behavior has changed because mom quit. The opportunities for mom or whoever's managing the food in your household have changed, right? The idea of what's for dinner, and I'm thinking in a meal solution format, not in this inventory management format. And I think that's the big change is, as we fast forwarded through time, going out to eat's become a little cheaper, so mom's night off became a little bit more frequent. And now, of course, with the advent of delivery from anywhere, anytime, I've always got a backup plan to press the button and have it show up in an hour and a half. But the kitchens are quickly going. So now I'm running this business of a kitchen like 3 or 4 days a week, and this inventory problem, the perishability, and I don't really spend a lot of time remembering what's there. So every time I go to make dinner, I buy everything because I'm not sure if I have it. And so the challenges for mom have compounded. And meal kits came along and showed up and said, oh, this is great. My family wants some new things that we haven't tried before. Sounds great. I don't have to manage inventory. Sounds awesome. No procurement mission. Sounds great. But in subscription commerce, you traded those activities, those bonuses, for the negative of I can't control what I'm feeding my family. So after a few weeks of some new stuff, it's like, well, wait, what's for dinner? Like, I didn't pick that, right? So lack of ability to choose, lack of ability to reorder, and then we've traded that for a manufacturing problem. Now, in that business model, somebody has to learn how to make all three of those meals each week ongoing, right? So we've shown up at the stage and looked at trying to stay a little bit more in line with consumer behavior and created a system in which you could reorder those foods and empowering other brands to do that. And we see in all of our data, of course, matches the kind of data that you would see in your house. People go back to the same restaurant to order the same thing. They tend to make the same 5 to 7 things in their households. Lots of our companies here are trying to just become one of those choices that happens on a continual part of the week. And so we see, the ongoing piece of where this market, a meal solution marketplace, comes to bear. Will be different households. Will have different amounts of pre-cooked, showing up ready to heat or already heated from a restaurant. But increasingly, actually, consumers are still wanting to cook some stuff at home. We can't eat takeout every night of the week to balance some of the health orientation stuff that we're looking to have. I think it's important as you think of your brand and what your brand wants to try to stand for and what your overall mission is. The word innovation gets used a lot, and picking places where you can stand out. Innovation for us is the apex of where 3 things come together. Generally speaking, when you're talking about price, convenience, and quality, you pick 2, but you lose the other one. It's more convenient and it's better quality, but it costs more. It has better quality, you can figure it out, right? Any 2 of the stool becomes the third one, gets hard to do unless you're doing something that's radically different than the way that things have been done in the past. And that's what at Chef we've embraced, and I think it's important in your own companies to sort of think through, like, what are we embracing and what are we doing different that's going to propel us as a company long term. Being the new flavor of an existing product category, well, somebody can go copy that flavor, et cetera, right? Like, so what's a niche that you can carve out for yourself? And in fact, the place that we're focused on is we're focused on selling you those meal solutions at 50% of what it would cost you at the grocery store today. And we think through the advent of automation in the back, warehousing and automation in the back end, buying in bulk and selling in the exact quantity you want is a means to do that, and we'll have that done in a couple of years. As I mentioned before, one of the other interesting things along our journey has been when we've empowered. So we created this platform and said, hey, we can ship direct to consumer nationally for you and your company, but we're a company that works with other brands. And I think in today's, in the last conversation you heard a little bit, one of the things that stuck with me was everything I learned in marketing school is now out the window. I think the biggest thing that I've learned in this company about marketing is brands working together and teaming up with people that have similar values and similar goals. It can really propel your business. we thought this was kind of a good idea at the beginning. We're like, yeah, well, we'll just kind of work with people that already have customers, et cetera. It's turned out to be the thing that powers our entire business. Much has been said in this space about the cost of marketing for the traditions e-commerce companies. We spent less than $2 million in marketing to date. Our brand's a little less known because of that, but our partners will spend $20 million this year marketing their own products and their own services where they want to have the food. And they're very happy to have us as the co-marketing partner, as the one the brand that's responsible to get the food to your household. And that piece has been incredibly powerful to us, from a financial perspective. And just really from a growth perspective as well. So, I would encourage in your own businesses to think, where are the places that I can actually enable somebody else and help somebody else along their journey? And, that old axiom, one and one makes three, but where are those places in partnerships? And I think partnerships going forward are incredibly more important than they were 5 and 10 and 20 years ago from a brand building and marketing perspective. And so as we've built this platform that says we can get stuff direct to the consumer, we've had all kinds of different people call us and say, hey, I'm trying to do this. CPG is sort of an obvious one in terms of I've got a product that's going in a meal. I'm trying to get my product sampled, tried, purchased, distributed across the country and maybe some small places. And so I've got a lot of reasons why I'm trying to have my product in that meal experience. But we now are doing work with healthcare companies in the food as medicine kind of arena, and numbers of others. Another significant aspect of what we've done is multi-channel. So we started from the beginning of saying, hey, we're partnering all these people's brands, and their brands are bigger than our brands, right? For sure. So we're happy to do anything we can to help our partners sell things. So when we work, using a CPG example, lots of CPG companies have a website that has recipes on it, that have their products on it that they've been pushing today and in the past. What they haven't had is a buy button to enable that commerce. Putting a buy button on that commerce actually just increases the value of the marketing because consumers engage more when they actually think I could press a button and have it show up. Like, okay, what is it actually? I don't have to print this out and rip this out and go to a store and that journey is sort of one of the past. And so we adopted from the beginning, we want to sell on their websites, we want to sell on our websites, we want to sell on our media partners' websites, we want to sell on Amazon. And so our piece has been to do all that, and then a natural progression for us has been retail. And so today we are live in about 30 different retail brands across the country. We're finding that meal solutions sell in lower-end stores as well as in higher-end stores. Many people think because it's a meal solution, it's a meal kit, it's a premium product. We're finding that data is not necessarily proving that out. Having the right meal experience in the right location to fit that demographic is a very important aspect. And many of the retailers are very nervous about the price point because it's a high price point. But this consumer research would say they view that as a value. When you're talking dinner for two for 15 to 20, dinner for four from 20 to 25, they're viewing that as a value proposition in what they're doing. And then another thing that I would say in this space that's been true to us and everyone in the room, especially as you grow your business, in today's world that moves so quickly, we're all so busy and things are all moving quickly and that's all said, but the innovation cycles are significantly shorter than they have been in the past. And the opportunity as entrepreneurs and small companies is you can move quicker. And you have to take that advantage and play that. The big companies have great advantages and there's reasons to partner with them. Their advantages are not that they can move quicker. And that will always be the case. Just more people, more decisions, more communication, more challenge, et cetera. So figuring out where it is in your business that you can continue to innovate. One of the places that we're looking to innovate in retail is by basically adding RFID so that we know exactly what's on shelf in all locations. We can communicate that through our digital assets to the consumers. Again, for us, it isn't so much about it's that you buy something that's come from our network and radius. If you want to buy it sent to your house, great. You want to buy it at Amazon, great. If you buy it in grocery, of course, most of the sales of food is still happening in grocery, right? So we actually are trying to drive sales and drive consumer experience to grocery. Also a time difference if you want to order it in advance. That's a day purchase. If I'm trying to make a decision in 10 minutes, we want our brand to be somewhere that you can do that. So I digress slightly about the innovation side of things, but so the RFID is meant that we know exactly what's on shelf at any location at any time, so that we can use that to digitally market those pieces and products. And again, our brand is a platform brand. So today, in the example you see on the screen, is heavy on our brand and products, but we're working with a number of different brands that want to have meal kits and meal solutions in grocery that would come, and then we would help them get on shelf at various retailers to have their brand, their product, their experience in retail. And we get lots of different varieties of piece, from a lifestyle orientation product to a health and wellness oriented product or to a CPG ingredient oriented product. And then the future, what's happening in the future in this space, and what are we trying to do to innovate, and where are places to play? Again, thinking forward, how are you innovating in your space, and what is the next step for you? So we are looking, we're have dirt under control and looking to construct large second generation facilities that would be highly automated. Think of a grocery store small sizes, encased in a vending machine. So your meal for 10 that has 10 different items in it is going to be different than your chicken dinner that has 10 different items, than your salmon dinner that has 10 different items. The piece that this will allow, though, is to enable anyone. Today we enable lots of brands that work with us, et cetera, but enable anyone. Think of the Pinterest person, the Instagram person. Any place you see a recipe, you could essentially tag those ingredients and have that recipe fulfilled, et cetera. And so that could be in your own household. So we believe that the future of meal kits is really shopping at the meal solutions level. And so your salmon dinner and your salmon dinner may be different. There's no reason why you shouldn't both be able to buy salmon and broccoli and salmon and asparagus. So we're headed to a world that has mass customization, with brands behind it participating in that activity, but giving the consumer the ultimate level of choice in what they're doing, and then enabling commerce to as wide of an audience as we can. And so I think the important parts in our journey have continued to be about how do we stay innovative, how do we come into an industry not as the pioneers in the space, but the innovators in the space. But one innovation is not make a company. As soon as you innovate one thing, you need to continue to innovate on top of that, right? And I think that's an interesting thing to diagram. What is your what is your platform that you're going to continue innovating on? What does that journey look like for you as a company? And if you're not defining that, somebody else is probably defining that for you. So with that, we'll take some Q&A.
So, you talked about the company's growth through all these different channels. I want to talk about the Chef brand's growth as you've moved through these different channels. In the beginning, you really were a platform for other brands, be it chefs or companies, to sell their product. But now you're in retail, and you kind of have to be chefed. Like, you have to sell your brand. What has that journey been like for the company?
Yeah, the company's goal is to continue to be the platform brand to onboard consumers and find out what they want and offer those through our brand partners. As you deal with retailers, like many of you do in the room, you don't always get to make the decisions for the things that happen on their shelves. So to keep things simple for many of the retailers at the beginning, the answer has been, hey, come forward with the Chef brand. And as well, we need to continue to work with our partners in the background in order to get those products prepared for retail. Producing a retail-oriented product is much different, much more difficult, many more steps than producing a direct-to-consumer kit. So our goal as a brand is to continue to play in that platform orientation and continue to work with retailers on those regards.
Well, I apologize. We don't have more time for Q&A today, but there was a lot of insight that was shared, and hopefully you'll stick around for our sampling to be able to answer some questions for brands.
You bet. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes.